Hello, good morning, come on in. Welcome to the Poetry Pharmacy. My name is Deborah Alma, and for today, for National Poetry Day, I'm going to give you a tour of the Poetry Pharmacy, talk about what goes on here and explain a little bit about the background to the place. So first of all, let's have a look around. So over here we have the Poetry Pharmacy Poems in Pills. We call them poemcetamol. Inside each pill is a tiny extract of a poem for various ailments, from a broken heart right through to sluggish blood. There are happy pills, slow down pills, pills for resilience, mindfulness and indecision. And I'll show you around the shop. The shop's slightly unusual in that it's laid out by kind of emotional need or emotional ailment, and the idea behind it, I suppose, is to help people buy the right poetry book that they might need, because usually in bookshops, poetry books, even in the best bookshops, are displayed A to Z, spine on, and they're lost. So the thing that we're lucky to be able to do here is to display them face on, and they're front and centre of the shop. So over here we have poetry anthologies, mainly for first aid, so kind of indispensable poetry anthologies. And then moving down through the shop, the first section here is for days when the world is too much with us, which is a Wordsworth quote. So books around well-being and poetry that might address that. So over here we've got Stressed Unstressed, which is a really good anthology, poems to ease the mind. And as we go along, you can see there are poems for kindness, poems to address insomnia, to seize the day, poems Now I Become Myself, which are poetry collections and books about self-confidence, and then love, from romantic love, sex, heartbreak, motherhood, friendship, home, all sorts of relationships, gratitude, and then further down here there are poetry books that are written from ill health or concern ill health. Poetry Cure, Blood Axe is a really lovely one. And moving down, and then there's a section called Talking to Grief, and then we have books on philosophy generally, and then I call this wild remedy, so poetry books, anthologies, and books around going out into nature and going out into the wild as a cure. And then the best medicine, so things that might make you feel better, from dogs and cats. And over here, books on the craft of writing and creativity generally. And then a selection of anthologies over here. And then this room, in a sense, even though it's at the back, is the heart of the place, and it's my consulting room. And for those of you who don't know, I used to have a project called The Emergency Poet, where I would drive in my vintage ambulance to administer poetry on prescription. And to kind of continue that theatre, I do consultations in here now. So at the moment, because I'm not doing very many, because we're in these COVID times, it's part of the shop, but people would lie down on the chaise longue. I would ask them a few questions about their reading habits, maybe their general well-being. It lasts about half an hour, and then at the end of it, prescribe them a poem. well, I'll take you around the rest of the downstairs. If you come this way, over here we have poetry books for children and other diseases. And over the books on this table, it's a little bit untidy, are books around children's emotions, problems that they might have about worrying and anxiety and depression maybe. And then over here is the more traditional bookshop, poetry bookshop selection of poetry collections A to Z by poet. And we're a poetry bookshop, so they need to be here. But these, like in any bookshop, they tick over, but they don't sell as well as the books that I've pulled out to address particular emotions or to reflect particular emotions. And then over here there's some lovely local friends and poets. Behind the till here, which is this lovely old desk, we have poems in pills, so that if anyone drops in with a particular problem, they're feeling a bit under the weather for various reasons, we can give them a little envelope and fill them with some pills, which we do as a sort of little thing. We don't charge for that. Through here, we're about to open today, so this is ahead of opening. It's our dispensary cafe where we prescribe teas and coffees and lovely cakes, but as you can see, it's empty at the moment. And if you come with me, we'll show you what happens upstairs. We call this the distillery, and it's up here that in normal times we host, as you can see from this space here, this is where we have workshops, writing workshops, general poetry workshops, reading groups, writing groups, and other art workshops with an emphasis on well-being. And also the other thing we do is we can clear the tables away and host poetry readings and book launches. Down this end, this is where I, at the moment, fulfil the mail order orders that I get from our website. So we post out books and bottles of pills. And then, as you can see on the shelves here, we have an extraordinarily extensive poetry library. About half of the books were very kindly donated by Miggy Scott, who is the wife of the poet David Scott. And it's a reference library and a free resource for anybody that might like to come here and use the books either for inspiration or for reference. This building was an old ironmonger's and was an ironmonger's for about 150 years, so we've still got quite a lot of bits and pieces here on the shelves, and they're all we've kind of left them here so that people can use them as inspiration for writing. And then at the top here are boxes of invoices from about 1877, and we kept them all for about 100 years, and they're beautiful. We're probably going to do an Arts Council or a Heritage Lottery bid to get them digitised. We think they're either bits of body or bags of bank stubs. And then what I thought I would do is read you a few poems just to finish up. This poem is called Wine Glasses by Jeff Phelps and is from the Emergency Poet Anti-Stress Poetry Anthology, which I edited a few years ago. Wine glasses must be washed first in hot water, as hot as hands can bear, untainted by the everyday of cutlery and plates. Rub out the deep red lees, invert them, stems up to stand like potters' kilns. I think I had forgotten what a poem was till you reminded me how the world can be made to scintillate on a single wavelength. Now I hold the glass up to the light. The taut, brittle arc of its bowl is faith in the impossible. I rub a moist finger around the rim, hear a kind of gathering, a resonance that's neither glass nor air, but a new place between. Its high sound fills the kitchen like a prayer bell. That poem I love and prescribe very often to remind people of something I call the sacrament of the everyday, the small moments where we just take time out to be mindful, I suppose. And then this poem I'm reading because it's National Poetry Day, and the theme of this year's National Poetry Day is vision. And it's a small poem by D.H. Lawrence called Green. The dawn was apple green. The sky was green wine held up in the sun. The moon was a golden petal between. She opened her eyes and green they shone, clear like flowers undone for the first time, now for the first time seen. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to show you around. There's going to be a live Twitter Q&A after this, so if you'd like me to either prescribe you a poem or have a chat or ask any questions, you'd be really welcome. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.